Ladies and gentlemen, annyeonghaseyo. My name is Chris Hollifield, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity today to present to you briefly the Luxembourg International Financial Centre and Fintech Hub. So without further ado, let's get started. Luxembourg is a very small country in the center of Europe. It has a population of around 600,000 people. It's very multicultural. It has around 3.6 languages spoken on average. It's very international in terms of its foreign population as well, with around 48% of the population residents in Luxembourg being foreigners. And it's also very small, geographically speaking. If you look at it in terms of square kilometers, there's roughly 2,500 square kilometers in Luxembourg, which makes it somewhere in the region of 38 times smaller than South Korea. But this is another way of looking at the size of Luxembourg. Here, the countries are sized according to their financial services exports. And looking at it in this perspective, Luxembourg is in fact the third largest country in the world after the UK and the USA. And it's really financial exports that is what defines the Luxembourg Financial Centre. This is another map of the world where various countries are coloured in different shades of blue, depending on their financial services relations with Luxembourg. And as you can see, in terms of coverage, Luxembourg is doing pretty well. So at this stage, one might be asking oneself, why is this the case? How is it that a country with a population of less than 1 million, with an area of under 3,000 square kilometers, how can it be that this is the third largest exporter of financial services worldwide? And for me, it really boils down to two main factors. Firstly, it's to do with Luxembourg's membership of the European Union. Luxembourg was a founding member of the European Union and is a strong proponent of it. And it's thanks to the European Union that we can say that Luxembourg's home market isn't really the geographical territory of Luxembourg so much as the entirety of the single market of the European Union, all 27 member states, all 450 million customers, all 7,000 financial institutions that are represented within the European Union. The other main reason why Luxembourg is such a strong international financial centre is stability. And stability is the case both in an economic and also in a political sense. So Luxembourg is one of the few countries worldwide in the region of 10 or 11 that are left with a AAA sovereign credit rating. Even post-COVID, the sovereign debt to GDP ratio stands at around 26%. But also in terms of political stability, there have been somewhere in the region of 8 prime ministers in Luxembourg since the end of the Second World War. Which goes to show that there was a continuity of thought, a continuity of policy over that time. And that's what financial services providers who come to Luxembourg are really looking for, is an understanding that the financial services environment in which they operate today will be broadly similar tomorrow and in 5 years' time and in 10 years' time. So with all of that being said, what do we actually do in Luxembourg in terms of financial services? I generally like to break this down into 5 key pillars. Firstly, we have an asset management pillar. Then we have a banking pillar. We have a very specialized capital markets pillar. We have an insurance pillar, and then we also have a payments pillar. So just to go through these very quickly in turn. Luxembourg is the second largest asset management hub in the world after the US. Funds based in Luxembourg manage somewhere in the region of 5.6 trillion euros in terms of assets under management, and they're distributed globally. And by that, I don't just mean within the European Union, I mean in almost 80 markets worldwide. In fact, if you look at South Korea, somewhere in the region of 85% of the foreign funds that are sold in South Korea are in fact Luxembourg funds. And similarly, the people who set up these funds come from somewhere in the region of over 60 countries worldwide, and they're coming here to make use of the familiarity, the name brand of Luxembourg to distribute their funds globally. Traditionally, the strength here in Luxembourg has been with retail funds under what's known as the UCITS brand, but certainly since 2013, we've also seen strong growth in alternatives and private equity as well. Turning to the banking sector, there are somewhere in the region of 120 banks from 26 different countries present in Luxembourg, and the banking sector is really specialized on services other than the retail banking. So the traditional the strengths of the Luxembourg banking ecosystem really revolve around depository services, i.e. services to support the fund management industry within Luxembourg, commercial banking services, and then private banking services for high net worth individuals. Turning to capital markets, there are a couple of key institutions in Luxembourg with respect to capital markets. Luxembourg is a leading fixed income listing center via the Luxembourg Stock Exchange, which has somewhere in the region of 38,000 listings across 60 different currencies. And it's also a strong player in the post-trade field, with one of the two main international central securities depositories worldwide based in Luxembourg, managing somewhere in the region of 8 trillion euros in assets under custody. Turning to the insurance sector, the traditional strength in Luxembourg has really been on the life insurance side, creating that synergy with the private banking and wealth management sector in Luxembourg. But certainly since Brexit, we've also seen strong growth in the non-life insurance field, with the likes of AIG, Tokyo Marine, Sompo also setting up their European headquarters in Luxembourg to service their clients in the European Union. Turning to payments, Luxembourg is a hub for very major payments firms in Luxembourg. This started with PayPal acquiring a banking license in 2008, 2009, but subsequently with the emergence of specific European regulation around payments, we've also seen strong growth in large-scale players operating payment institution and e-money licenses, the likes of which are demonstrated on the screen. Luxembourg is also currently the headquarters of the European Payments Association. Turning to the future, we see developments potentially occurring in two main fields. First is sustainable finance, or ESG finance, and the second is around digital transformation. So I'll spend a few minutes just talking about each of these in turn. Talking about sustainable finance in the first instance, we can see ever since 2015, 2016 that there has been very strong growth in terms of ESG. But if we are really set to meet our climate targets that we have set, there needs to be much more done. Luxembourg has been a strong promoter of ESG since 2015, and there are a number of initiatives here mentioned which we have set up to bolster that activity. The first is obviously the Luxembourg Green Exchange, which was set up in 2016 as the first dedicated exchange worldwide for the issuance and listing of ESG instruments. And today it maintains a market share of around 50% in sustainable financial services instruments. Luxembourg is also a very major microfinance hub, with somewhere in the region of 60% of microfinance vehicles worldwide being based out of Luxembourg. We also maintain a dedicated labeling agency, which provides financial product labels, ESG financial product labels, to both funds and securities. We've also set up a platform together with the Luxembourg government has also set up a platform together with the European Investment Bank to also facilitate the issuance of green bonds. And Luxembourg was the first location for the first listing of a green bond worldwide back in 2007. ICFA is the International Climate Finance Accelerator, which is a dedicated program set up to accelerate the development of climate finance funds, specifically targeting investment funds that are looking to raise their first and second rounds. And then the Luxembourg Sustainable Finance Initiative, or LSFI, brings all of the initiatives around sustainable finance together with public-private support. Turning to digital, the Loft, which is our local fintech hub, the Luxembourg House of Financial Technology, is celebrating its 5th anniversary. And in the time that it's been set up, the fintech community has grown exponentially in Luxembourg. And today, where we count somewhere in the region of 200 firms that are present in the Luxembourg fintech ecosystem, some of which you see listed here on the screen. And one of the things that's quite interesting about this map is that it compares quite favorably also with the various pillars of financial services that are represented amongst the incumbent industry. There is a strong fund tech element and reg tech element which has strong synergies with the asset management industry. In the blockchain sector, we have a number of firms working on tokenization and crypto exchanges, which has a strong synergy also with the historical strengths in capital markets. And then obviously payments is also a major sector. And we really see developments going forward in this field with the incoming MiCAR regulation in the European Union, creating a basis for crypto firms. We feel that now is the real time where firms that are active in this field should start seriously considering their regulatory setup in Europe as those regulations come into place over the next 2 years or so. So in summary, Luxembourg is a very international, very multicultural financial centre that is really dedicated to facilitating in a professional and efficient way cross-border financial flows. And it's been my great pleasure to introduce it to you today. And I hope that in the future I have the opportunity to meet you in person in either Seoul or Luxembourg. Thank you very much.